Boom. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Happy, was it Sunday now? Yeah, happy Sunday to you all, and welcome to another live beer review. Today we're going to be taking a look at a beer from a brewery that I do not believe I've ever had a beer from them before. Let me double check right now. Have I had stuff from Four Hands before? We're about to do some research before we get started here. Hold on. I'm curious. Have I had anything from these guys before? Okay, so yeah, I've had a couple stuff from these guys before. I do not remember ever drinking this stuff. So I've had 3 different beers from this brewery before, and today we're going to be taking a look at a special kind of limited release that they decided to do called the Warhammer. It's a Imperial Hazy IPA coming in at a 9% ABV, and I think that can art looks pretty badass. And look, just got the hammer coming down on the hops and everything like that, just making like a juicy kind of just splash of craziness on there. But yeah, these guys are out of St. Louis, Missouri, and to be honest, I don't remember those couple other beers that I've had from these guys before. So this is going to be kind of like a new experience. It might have been a couple of years since I've had anything from Four Hands. And of course, I'm a really, really big fan of New England Hazy IPAs. I think just the great flavors of tropical fruit, citrusiness, and just overall really, really juiciness coming from that kind of style of beer is absolutely fantastic. It's super refreshing. And of course, if you love hops, it's a great way to elevate just those natural kind of flavors that those hops produce. So we're going to be trying out this guy this afternoon, and what I'm going to expect with this one, of course, it's an Imperial, so of course it's going to be a little bit more boozy. I'm not really expecting crazy amount of booziness due to it being only a 9%, but I'm expecting some really, really nice kind of like citrusy notes coming through, because I think during the boil it was brewed with Mosaic and Citra, so it's a great hop combination for brewing beers. It's just bring out tropical fruit, citrus, just overall really, really nice combination. And they did a couple things with the dry hopping process, which we'll get into a little bit later, but I'm really excited to give this guy a try. So let's crack this thing open and let's see what we get on the nose. Expecting some nice kind of, oh yeah, wow, citrus right on the nose, right up front. Bright, really strong and like grapefruit kind of notes. That's okay, I took care of it. They started staying stuff before I even went fully live, before I even started doing the review, so I was able to take care of it face meat. No worries, brother. But yeah, it's really, really strong and like the grapefruit citrusiness so far. Definitely getting a little bit of like of a grassy kind of note as well. But yeah, I think actually I'm leaning on the fence of this being more like a lemongrassy kind of note coming through, which is going to help elevate that citrus. Some of those hops do bring off a little bit notes of lemongrass and all that stuff. But yeah, I think that smells absolutely delicious. So I'm going to be drinking this out of my Fibs Brewing Company lane of drinking glass, and let's pour this guy and see what it's all about. Expecting, a good amount of haze. Let's get that head going so we can get some good aromas. There we go. And look at that. That just looks like a haze bomb. I'm expecting, hopefully, maybe this will be an Imperial juice bomb as well. But yeah, I think the color on that looks absolutely fantastic. Almost has that like deep orange, nice soft white head on the top. Still getting like, okay, so a little bit of the citrus mellowed down a little bit. Definitely getting a little bit, still getting that lemongrassy kind of note coming through. But yeah, that kind of like almost tropical fruit note that kind of comes through, like a little bit of hints of mango and pineapple and everything like that. That's most likely going to come from the Mosaic and a little bit from the Citra, but yeah, that's definitely getting a little bit of the maltiness coming through a little bit now. There's like a malty sweetness almost coming through. Yeah, I think that is going to be an absolutely delicious one. So let's give this guy a try and see what it's all about. So cheers, everybody. Happy Sunday. Yeah, that's delicious. Absolutely delicious. Right up front. Getting a nice kind of bitterness, of course. Of course, lets me know that there is some first word hopping / early boil hopping, which is nice. Of course, most likely when I always talk about this, whenever you're trying to dial in bitterness when it comes to making a beer, especially an IPA, you're going to be adding your hops in during the boil or during the mash kind of process. Pretty early in the boil, of course, you could first word hop it, which is adding hops into the boil kettle as you're transferring over the wort that has been sitting, that you're trying to get everything over that. So, of course, there's probably a first word hop. Most IPAs have a first word hop in there. But yeah, bright citrus, definitely getting a nice kind of grassy, earthy kind of notes to it as well. But it's It's juicy. It has a nice sweetness from having those tropical fruit notes in there. And overall, this is a pretty damn solid hazy IPA. That's for damn sure. I'm really enjoying this one. But let's look over here at Untappd and let's see what they show as a description for this guy. So this was a 2022 release that I guess was a very, very limited release for these guys. So what they say here is Warhammer, our annual ode to lupulin, which we'll talk about what lupulin is really quick in a couple of minutes, but stays hazy for the 2022 release that features a heavy-handed blend of Citra Mosaic hops in the kettle for notes of grapefruit, lime, blueberry, mango, and pineapple. So let you know those are the two hops that they use during the boil process. And then following the fermentation with a Brett-like Trolls yeast strain, which is definitely interesting. I've never really seen anybody use like a Brett-style yeast for an IPA, so that's definitely very, very a nice little different thing that they did there. And then, of course, this Imperial IPA is triple dry hop with Citra, Mosaic, and Simcoe Cryo hops, which is concentrated lupulin powder. Of course, when it's cryo, it's super concentrated. It gets, I believe, the hops is actually hit with CO2 to just it's like a flash freeze kind of process, if I remember correctly. And they say it's for further amplified tropical fruit flavors and aromas and a touch of earthy resinous pine. So of course those resinous pine flavors are going to bring in a little bit of those cannabis kind of notes as well. And I liked what they did with their description is they actually put in their description what this beer pairs well with. So on the description it says it pairs with pork belly bao buns, Humboldt fog blue cheese, and caramelized orange cheesecake. That actually sounds like a pretty damn good combination. And on the can itself, it actually says it pairs well with chocolate cake, which what I've read and all that kind of stuff when it comes to hops and like desserts and everything like that, they say the hoppier the beer, the better it pairs with sweeter desserts like cakes and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very, very interesting pairing combination. I'm always intrigued when it comes to beer and food pairings. I think it's really cool that breweries kind of tell you stuff that their beer specifically pairs with. So we have Four Hands who did it. I know Adroit Theory does it a lot when they talk about food, and they do music pairings, food pairings, and they do cigar pairings as well when it comes to what Adroit Theory does. But having a brewery show what this pairs with really well, especially on the can and on their Untappd description, I think just is another thing that gives it a little bit more points in my book, just because it's a very cool kind of situation that they do. Okay, so Stone did a Brett IPA a few years back. Yeah, I'm really curious to see what a Brett yeast would do to an IPA. It's definitely something that's I'm going to look into down the road and possibly play around with maybe making a beer with a Brett yeast in there. Who knows? But if we're trying to find a similar beer to this guy, I'm not really going to choose anything on this similar beers list, just because there are a bunch of beers that I see all the time. So on a similar beers list. So we're going to go to my beer history. And of course, this beer is categorized under IPA Imperial Double New England Hazy, which we're going to, of course, if you're on Untappd, you can always see your beer history. So what we're going to do, sort and filter by style. We're going to go to IPA Imperial Double New England Hazy, over 108 different ones of these. So there's a bunch of different breweries out there that have created this style. Of course, it's a very, very common style of beer when it comes to an Imperial Double New England Hazy. But of course, we got the Stranger Clouds from Heist. Turning Point makes some good stuff. Of course, you got the Double Dry Hop Dingle Bop. Drecker, Microphone, Crystal Lake Brewing Company here in Illinois. Pig Mine's another one here in Illinois with their Cloud number 16. Of course, Fifth Frame. You got Drecker, Spindle Tap, Noon Whistle. Jester King makes some good stuff. Icarus, Three Sons. Of course, Anchorage. Let's see what else we got. Elmhurst Brewing Company here in Illinois with the Squeeze of the Day. Aurora Brewing Company. What else do we got? Adroit Theory is on here. So they're trying to find. Of course, we got the Full, which is their Nelson Sauvin New England Hazy, which is just their Full Nelson. We got the Dad Smokes from Black Stack. So if I'm going to try to find something similar to this guy, I definitely put this in the category of being something towards the Dingle Bop, the Double Dry Hop Dingle Bop from Turning Point. Of course, with it using lupulin powder and having more concentrated flavors, and this one being triple dry hop, this one might be a little bit more elevated when it comes to those, bringing a little bit more of those fruitier and citrusier aromas and flavors. But I think you're going to be able to find something pretty similar to this one if you kind of just go to your local liquor store and look for like an Imperial Double New England Hazy IPA. A lot of them, I want to say, are very similar in flavor, but depending on how much hops they add, they can all be a little bit different in their own way, but they're going to still bring you a lot of similar flavors when it comes to just bright citrusiness, bright fruitiness, having a really juicy mouthfeel, just being super refreshing, and overall showing you why it's one of my favorite styles of beer of all time. So, looking back at here at Untappd, let's close this tab, and we're gonna look at see what they show for rating on this guy. So, like I stated before, it's a 9% ABV, so I would not consider this beer sessionable in any way. Of course, my sessionability rating kind of cuts off about 7.5%, I think, is where I usually cut it off at. Anything above that is going to be a little bit more of a riskier situation if you want to have a few and then go driving afterwards. And with over 2,012 ratings, this one has an average rating of 4.02 out of 5, which is pretty damn fantastic. Having that over 2K number of ratings and still having an average above a 4 is telling you that this is a really, really good beer. And I think there's a couple people on my friends list who's actually checked this one in. So we got my uncle. I swear I thought my dad's the one that picked this one up and brought it home. So he may have just forgot to check it in. I'm not sure. But my uncle checked one of these in. But he doesn't usually do ratings and stuff. He checks things on Untappd just to kind of keep a catalog of what he's drank. And then we got another friend here, this dude Tyler. He checked it in, gave it a 3.5 out of 5, saying out of St. Louis, Missouri. Cheers. He's also an Untappd moderator, so he definitely must have enjoyed that one. But let's look here at the global ratings and see what other people had to say about this guy. So looking here, okay, so we got a 4.25 out of 5 here. This person gave it a 4 out of 5, saying good beer. The Imperial IPA threw me, but it's a good, juicy IPA, very tasty. Would definitely agree. Let's see, this guy gave it a 4.25. Purchased at the Randy's Double R Bar, which is in Waterloo, Illinois. Which is I think Waterloo is kind of close to that Illinois St. Louis kind of border, because there's some places around St. Louis that most likely will have distribution in like Southern Illinois and all that stuff. And he said it's a dangerous at 9%, which I definitely agree. Let's see. This guy gave it a 4 out of 5, saying trivia winning. So it looks like he went to a trivia night where they were giving away 4-packs, which actually is a pretty cool idea when it comes to having a trivia night either at a restaurant or a brewery, or maybe like a bottle shop that has taps on it or anything, to do a trivia night to where they give away 4-packs. I think that's a pretty cool thing. What else do we got here? Got another 4 out of 5. This guy gave it a 3.75, and he drank it at Dove Mountain Brewing Co. So I wonder if maybe he brought one over there, or maybe he has some, or they do a lot of, see, I don't know if this is it says Brewing Co. It may be just one of those tap houses that have a bunch of different beers on tap, because it doesn't look like I see any Dove Mountain actual beers. So that's a place in Arizona. This guy gave it a 3.75, saying a little too much mango flavor for my tastes, which I wouldn't say there's too much mango. I think it's pretty damn balanced well, because of all the different citrusy notes you get is in there. Let's do 3 more. This guy gave it a 3.75. We got a 3.25 here. And the last one we're going to look at is another 3.75 out of 5. A lot of these are can check-ins. I don't think I see any of them that are draft. Actually, okay, so the one at Dove Mountain Brewing Co. was one that was on draft. But other than that, it looks like a lot of these were can check-ins for people purchasing 4-packs and everything like that. So, overall, pretty good ratings. A lot of 4s, decent amount of 3.75s. But, yeah, I would say ratings are pretty damn good overall with this guy. So let's start trying to figure out what we're going to be doing for ratings over here on our end with this guy. Pour the rest of it into the glass, because I think there's barely any left. Yep. Now, the first thing we like to look at here, of course, is can art. And for this being the first thing that I remember ever getting in a can from Four Hands Brewing Company, I definitely really, really enjoy this can art for sure. I love their kind of logo on the barcode where they have the arch in St. Louis. I think that's a really nice touch. Of course, the pairings on there. The Four Hands logo is always really clean. But we're here to look at the overall front logo, which is having that Warhammer smashing down on a bunch of fresh hops and everything like that. So just smashing down on it, creating a bunch of like a juicy wave, like splashing kind of hop flavors. But yeah, I love the font of the Warhammer. It almost gives me like a Viking kind of theme to it, which I'm always a big fan of. Of course, you got the Warhammer on big font on the side. So this brewery definitely took advantage of all the real estate that they had on this can art to market it and pretty much bring this out to the masses, which I think is a really, really great thing. That they of course had a little bit of like accents in the background where I don't know if those are flames or if like maybe I see some hops back there. So they definitely took advantage of all the real estate that they had on this can to come out with this beer, which is really, really nice. So I'm going to give this an easy either between a 4.5 to 4.75 out of 5. Definitely something that would catch my attention for sure at a liquor store or bottle shop, just because I like the Viking kind of theme to it as well, with the font and the Warhammer hitting the hops and everything. So overall, really, really well done by Four Hands marketing with this guy. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it a 4.75 out of 5 for can art for me. That's pretty awesome. So let's see here. If I got this beer in a flight over at Four Hands Brewing Company, I don't think they have it on tap over there because it was a limited release. Would I get another one? Absolutely. I'm definitely a big fan. I love the citrusy notes coming through, and I love that kind of just a little bit of tropical fruit, getting that lemongrassy kind of earthiness coming through as well to kind of make it well-rounded. Not too crazy on the bitterness, which is good. So overall, I think this beer was really, really well done, and you could definitely tell that they took a lot of time just to create a nice, dangerous double IPA. Well, Imperial IPA. I don't think it's a double IPA, but this is an absolute fantastic beer. So big shout outs to Four Hands with coming out with this guy. But with all that being said, what is my final rating on this one going to be? I'm going to give this one a very, very solid 8.75 out of 10. Really, really good. I would definitely recommend picking this up if you have the option to. I think there's some places that are still selling it, so you may have the opportunity to pick it up somewhere. But of course, when it comes to distribution, Four Hands is most. I saw maybe a place in Arizona that had it, so maybe there's some locations in Arizona that have things from Four Hands. Of course, Illinois, I would say, has pretty good distribution when it comes to things from Four Hands, just because of how close it is to St. Louis. Even though it's most likely to be more common in the southern Illinois region, it might reach its way up to the northwest suburbs and kind of reach around the Chicagoland area. Because I think that's where we got ours. We got ours from around here. So I think that distribution reaches all the way up here. But you may, of course, have more distribution happening in Missouri, maybe reaching up to Indiana, maybe a little bit in Ohio. I don't want to say it's going to reach its way up to Michigan, because I don't think I saw any Michigan check-ins, but I think you may be able to get your hands on some stuff from Four Hands if you're like in the local area within the Midwest. I think you're going to kind of have a good idea of being able to get some more beers from these guys. I'm most likely thinking this is going to be something that they're going to release again, just because with looking at Untapped and seeing the good response from people, this is definitely one that they're most likely going to come out with again. Maybe changing it a little bit. Who knows? They might add different hops to kind of change up the recipe just a bit. But overall, I think I could see this beer coming back and just going to war with everybody who drinks it. So overall, Four Hands did a really, really good job with this one, I think. So yeah, 8.75 I think is where I'm going to leave it with this one. Absolutely delicious. I would definitely recommend it if you're a fan of New England Hazy IPAs. So big shout outs to Four Hands for making an absolutely delicious beer. But other than that, let's see here. I think that is pretty much what I have for you guys this afternoon. So thank you everybody in chat for hanging out. You guys are awesome. If you haven't yet, please hit that like button. It would help me out a lot. Also, if you're new to the channel, like what you see, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well, along with that notification bell. It'll let you know whenever I go live, do another review. I got reviews planned for maybe mid to end of this week. I got to go into work tomorrow. I'll do some kegging, so won't be doing a review tomorrow for you guys, but maybe next couple days I'll have a review up for you guys going, so maybe have another decent schedule of just reviewing beers back-to-back days, so just keep an eye out for that. Of course, if you want to be at the first place to find out what I'm reviewing and all that kind of stuff, if you want to shoot me a follow on my Instagram, that's where you're going to see the hand checks and all the stuff that I'm going to be reviewing. Plus, every once in a while, you'll see some stuff that I'm doing behind the scenes over at Fibs. And, of course, this week is going to be a little bit of a hectic week just because we're getting ready for my beer release, so I'm super excited for that. But also, if you want to shoot me a friend request on Untapped as well, you guys hear me talk about Untapped all the time. I think it's an absolutely fantastic platform for beer drinkers. I like to call it Facebook for beer drinkers as well, because it's pretty much what it is. You can check in beers, get badges, all that kind of stuff. It's just really, really cool and easy to use, even though there's a little bit of a difference between what the app can do and what going through the browser can do. I think the browser is only where they show the similar beers list, so if you want to find similar beers to that, you're going to have to open your Untapped profile through the browser. But if you just want to have a nice, easy, just overall really, really good experience, you can just download it on through the App Store, Android or iPhone, and just enjoy yourself. And if you haven't shot me a friend request yet, link to my profile is down in the description below. And of course, the last thing I'm always going to recommend, if you want to help support me and help support this channel, best thing to do is to head over to the Patreon. It helps me greatly get more beer in my hands, plus it helps me get more beer out to you guys. Plus, I do monthly 4-pack giveaways of Illinois exclusive craft beer over there, so if you want to possibly get your hands on some beer that you might not be able to get your hands on near you, the Patreon is going to be the best way to do so. Of course, it helps me greatly. And I like to see what other people think about beers that are in my area, in my neck of the woods, and see what you guys think about it. So, of course, if you want to help support me and do that, the link to my Patreon is down in the description below as well. And I'm going to be working on some other stuff eventually, maybe some other giveaways with different content creators, plus different breweries and all that kind of stuff like that. And, of course, down the road, once we get a little more traffic, that's when I can start working on possibly getting merch out there, coasters, koozies, glassware, beer helmet for face meat, all kinds of stuff. So if you want to help me get all that moving, Patreon is going to be the best way to do so. But other than that, I think that is it, ladies and gentlemen. So again, thank you everybody in chat for hanging out. You guys are awesome. Thank you everybody who's going to be watching the replay as well. You guys are fantastic. And I'm going to end this like I always do before we get the hell out of here. If you're going to drink responsibly. Don't drink and drive. And I'll see y'all next time. Cheers.